Hi everyone, it's Tanya and welcome to today's video. This video is going to be the last, I promise, the last episode in my classics to read in 2021 series. So I have already done Russian classics to read in 2021. I have also done classics from around the world to read in 2021. And this is the last episode, which is English and American classics I want to read in 2021. So I'm super excited also for this episode because I have a lot of interesting books which make me so excited. Some of them are very basic. I feel like some of the books majority of you have already read. We will start with English classics, and then in the later part of the video we are going to talk about American classics. 2021 to be my introduction year to Bronte sisters. I did read Jane Eyre. I did read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and also 2020 I read collection of her letters, selected letters by Charlotte Bronte. Actually I have it right here. I read her selected letters by Charlotte Bronte by this Oxford World's Classics, which I also really enjoyed. And I also actually, based on this book, I made a video about Charlotte Bronte's favorite books and her unpopular opinions, which I will link up here. But yeah, so those just two books that I read by Charlotte Bronte. And this year I want to read books by her sisters. So first of all, I want to read Anne Bronte. I have this just adorable, I really like this Macmillan's Collector's Library editions. They're just so nice to hold in your hand and they're so comfortable. The font is a little bit small. That's just the truth, you know. The font is a little bit small, but apart from that they're really nice. So I have this beautiful Macmillan's Collector's Library edition of Agnes Grey, based on her own experiences of being a governess in different families. And then I have another novel also by Anne Bronte, is The Tenant of Windfell Hall. And this is apparently a hard-hitting and very passionate novel about marital cruelty. And we follow a story of Helen Graham, who flees her abusive alcoholic husband to protect her son. And she flees apparently to a different village, but people there know nothing about her. And that's why they call her Wicked Woman. The local gossip calls her a wicked woman. And Anne Bronte used her own experiences with her brother Branwell to depict the cruelty and debauchery from which Helen flees. Anne Bronte wrote her masterpiece to reflect the fragile position of women in society and her belief in universal redemption. So I feel like it's going to be a hard read and just an emotional one. The next book comes as no surprise because it is Charles Dickens' Our Mutual Friend. So last year I read Hard Times by Charles Dickens, also Christmas Carol, and now I'm going to continue my introduction to his works. And I feel like Our Mutual Friend is many people's favorite book by him. It's one of his best books apparently. I also have here David Copperfield, which I also hope to read, but just as an example, because just in general I want to read more by Charles Dickens, and as an example I give you Our Mutual Friend. Dickens exposes the corrupting power of money in his last complete novel, Our Mutual Friend, with its expensive cast of characters and interweaving plots. John Harmon made his fortune collecting dust. On his death, his estranged son is due to inherit his wealth on the condition that he marry Bella Wilfer, a young woman who he has never even met. But when his son is presumed dead, John's riches pass to his servant, Mr. and Mrs. Boffin, and they in turn take Bella into their own home. They hire a secretive young man, John Rocksmith, to be Mr. Boffin's secretary. But what is this man's real identity, and what is his interest in Bella? Recently I also read a short novel about corrupting power of money, which is actually by an Indian author, Gachar Gachar, and I really enjoyed that novel very much. So yeah, the topic of money and how it affects people's personality is really very interesting. So Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens is another read that I hope to get to in 2021. Then I hope to continue my introduction to Jane Austen, because I've only read Emma by her also last year in December. And so my next book that I want to read by her is Persuasion. And again, it's so many people has named Persuasion their favorite novel by Jane Austen. That's why I'm super excited, and it's also very short. And apparently it's a story about a young woman who comes from a very rich family, and she is in love with this man. However, he is not rich, and her family convinces her to break off their engagement, and so they separate. A few years later they meet again, and her passions and her love for the man kind of resurfaces again. Who knows, maybe it's her second chance of happiness, so we will see. But yeah, I enjoyed Emma. Emma was really interesting. Like, Emma was an interesting character, I would say. I cannot say that it's like my favorite novel ever, but it was really enjoyable. So I'm excited to continue with Persuasion. And then I have Dracula by Bram Stoker. Now this book is going to be an experiment for me, because normally I don't really read like scary books. I'm not a big fan of like horrors, or I don't know, anything like scary. Is just not my cup of tea, you know. But it's a classics, and also just the blurb sounds so good. So, a chilling masterpiece of the horror genre, Dracula illuminates the dark corners of Victorian sexuality. I feel like it's not often that you find like topic of sexuality in classics. So yeah, that first line definitely got me interested. So Dracula by Bram Stoker. And then again, it's just a book, it's just an example. It's an example. Also, one of the authors whom I want to kind of get introduced to and read for the first time is Thomas Hardy. So I got this book in my bookstore vlog, which I will link up here if you haven't watched. I got it, I even started reading it, but I never like continued. And then I came back to reading Emma, and then I started reading Piranesi, and then January started, and now I'm reading like one book a day, like my short books. So yeah, I never came back to the book. However, I really enjoyed like the beginning that I read of it, and I really want to continue. Also, again, I've heard from so many people like Thomas Hardy is one of their favorite authors from Victorian classics. So I feel like I really am going to enjoy him. Also, I really like his portrait. Like, look, he looks like he was a very strict man, but I like his face. I don't know, I like his face, but I think he was very strict person. I think I probably would be afraid of him, but I don't know, for some reason I feel like he has very intelligent eyes. Don't you think so? I feel like he has very intelligent eyes. So yeah, I like his face. It's not the main reason though why I want to read his books. The main reason is that a lot of people named him their favorite author from Victorian classics. So yeah, I have his Two on a Tower. I have Far from the Maiden Crown, and also here I have two of his other books. I have The Trumpet Major, which I started and also never finished, so I will need to finish. And I also have his Desperate Remedies, which also I was supposed to read for Victober, but then when Victober actually happened, I kind of got in a reading slump, and so yeah, I didn't read all of these books. But I'm super excited to get to it. One day I will get to it. So yeah, Thomas Hardy is a very exciting author whom I'm super excited to explore. And then another author whom I have never read but really want to try, even though when I did my Charlotte Bronte's favorite authors video, I figured out that she actually didn't like this author. She was not a fan, but still, you know, Charlotte Bronte is a great woman, but it's just one person's opinions. So you don't want to base your decisions on just one person's opinions. So yes, I want to explore Henry Fielding, and I have his short book, Joseph Andrews. If I like Joseph Andrews, I will read Tom Jones. However, I have my doubts about Tom Jones. We will see. We will see. It's a big book, but also I don't know if I would enjoy it, but still. So I have this shorter one, and it's a righteous tale of innocence in a corrupt world. It was one of the earliest English novels, blending philosophical musing and pointed social satire to create a work of moral complexity and generous life-affirming humanity. Sounds great. Sounds very good. So yeah, blurbs are really like well done in Penguin English Library editions. They really make you want to read the book. I'm super excited. Apparently in times of Henry Fielding they didn't have photography because they don't have the as wonderful portrait of him as Thomas Hardy has, but still, so this was apparently Henry Fielding. Yes. Thomas Hardy has a better picture, let's be real. Dubliners by James Joyce. It's not English, right? It's Irish. I've had this beautiful edition for so long and I never got to it. For some reason I was convinced that it has very small font, but actually it doesn't. This font is very good. This font is very convenient to read, and it has a lot of like additional notes and introduction, very long and good introduction, and then so many appendixes and other notes on the back. It's a very good edition. So yeah, Dubliners by James Joyce. It's a collection of his short stories about Dublin, perhaps the greatest short story collection in the English language. Dubliners, complete when James Joyce was only 25. 25! Great people. Published in 1913, is a vivid and unflinching portrait of dear dirty Dublin at the turn of the 20th century. These 15 stories, including such unforgettable ones as Eyre, Grace, and The Dead, delve into the heart of the city of Joyce's birth, capturing the cadences of Dubliners' speech and portraying with an almost brute realism their outer and inner lives. Dubliners is Joyce at his most accessible and most profound. Super excited to finally get to Dubliners and finally read this collection. And also look, it's very beautiful. I really like this whole illustration, and then on the back I really like it. And then on here, on the flops, they also have like small story, and on this other flop they have a story like this. So yeah, I really like this deluxe Penguin Deluxe Classics edition. So good. So this for my English Irish. Actually, I don't know a lot of Irish authors, so if you have any Irish classics recommendations apart from James Joyce, please leave them in the comment section below. Or if not necessarily Irish, I mean not necessarily classics, maybe modern Irish writers, that would also be very interesting. So if you have any recommendations for Irish writers, please let me know. I would be so grateful. So yes, this for English British classics, like let's call it. And now off to American classics, which by the way I need an education in. Because I didn't before, when I was buying like all the like English language classics, I didn't realize that the majority of the books I was buying were actually British. And now when I look at my shelves, I don't really have many like American classics. I do have Mango Street, House on the Mango Street, a short story collection. What else do I have from American classics? I feel like from what I read, well, I do have Hemingway. I read Tom Sawyer. I did read something, but like currently from the books that I own, I have two books. So I have the Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Haustorn, and this is fiercely romantic and hugely influential novel. It's the tale of Hester Prynne, imprisoned, publicly shamed, and forced to wear a scarlet A for committing adultery and bearing an illegitimate child. In their small Puritan village, Hester and her daughter struggle to survive. But in this searing study of the tension between private and public existence, Hester's inner strength and quiet dignity make her one of the first great heroines of American fiction. the description is great. Like, I bought this book after I read the description and I was just like, I want to read this book. It sounds really, really good. So yeah, I'm super excited to read this one. Another one is Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Stowe, and this is such a famous and hugely influential novel, which I feel everybody knows about. It's a story of this one slave, Uncle Tom, who refuses to obey his white oppressors. I don't really know like much about the plot of the story, but obviously like I've heard about this book a lot, but I never read it, so I will read it this year. And then I have some of like, I feel like they are so staple, they're such staple books in American literature, because I found them like pretty much in every list of like must read American classics. And so I found this book on pretty much every single list that I was reading, and then I was like, when I was searching for my TBR to kind of, you know, educate myself in American literature more. So what I found, the first one, well actually this one I already knew, I already wanted to read this one. I want to read more of John Steinbeck, and so this year I want to read either his East of Eden or Grapes of Wrath. So we will see which one I will end up getting. I don't have the book currently, I will just put one of them here. Apparently his best book is considered to be The Grapes of Wrath, but East of Eden is one of his most ambitious books, from what I remember. I'm interested in his ambitious book for some reason, so maybe it will be East of Eden that I will end up reading. However, both of these books are really big, so I need to, you know, find my strength and and read it. John Steinbeck. Then I have this, I've been looking at this book for so long. I've been looking at it for a very long time. It is The Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. And I think it's a coming-of-age story of this young girl growing up in Brooklyn in New York at the turn of the 20th century. And from what if I remember correctly, her family isn't very well off. Unsuccessful family, her uncle I think is drinking. But the line that got me when I was researching this book is that it's considered one of America's beloved classics. And it captures the time period, and it captures characters and their struggles and just their life perfectly. And so that's why I'm very curious in this book and I really want to read it. So A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. The next book is Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. This is also set in 1930s in America, and I think it's some kind of story of self-discovery, and it's a story of two friends. One of the friends joins a terrorist organization and he travels to the south of America, where apparently he learns something about his family past, he learns about his ancestry, and he kind of finds his way to his roots. Something like that. I don't really understand much from the synopsis, but Toni Morrison is a writer whom I really want to explore. So, Song of Solomon. I know she also has Beloved, so after I read Song of Solomon, I will read her Beloved as well. The next author, I will talk about like an author whom I want to explore, because recently I got a recommendation from one of you, and the person said like he's really just a very great author. The author whom I want to explore is Richard Yates. He was such a prolific author apparently, because he has so many books. I watched a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio based on his Revolutionary Road. I remember I really liked that movie. So I will start with reading his Revolutionary Road and then his short stories. I remember like the ending of Revolutionary Road. I remember like what the story was about, so I kind of know what's going to happen in the book, but still I want to read it. I feel like books are, especially this book, it should be better, even better than the movie, even though the movie was also great. Like I enjoyed it, though I watched it very long time ago. And especially because the Revolutionary Road, I read that it was claimed to be a masterpiece from the very first days it was published, and it just received so much praise. So yeah, Revolutionary Road is going to be my first read, and then I will go on to his short stories. From what I remember from the movie and what I know about like the synopsis of the book is that it's a story of one young couple, very bright, very intelligent young couple, both of them husband and wife, but they live in a small town I think, and they're bored. I think from the movie I remember that they wanted to move to Paris to they had like this dream to move to Paris, and they were working hard to reach the dream, but then it kind of gets crashed, and it leads to betrayal, and it leads to like terrible things that happen in their life. One more novel is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Also, I've never read this book, even though it's very famous and I've heard about it a lot. From what I remember about the synopsis, it's a story of two sisters, two black sisters who got separated when they were young, but they kind of were they were staying in touch through letters, and I really liked different commentaries on the book. So, for example, a large celebration of all that it means to be a black female. I love that The Color Purple doesn't try to soften its blows, but it also courageous enough to hold on to a wonderfully affirming faith in possibility and forgiveness and kindness and hope. This sounds like this book is just going to be for me. I love books that have hope in them. The Color Purple is my go-to comfort novel. Every single time I read this book, I walk away as a slightly better person than I was when I picked it up. Sounds so good. I feel like it's going to be a great novel. I think that The Color Purple was the first book that made me think that I could try to be a writer, or that made me aware that a young black woman from the South could write about the South. And then I got the book and read it in one day when it came out, and then I went back the next day and bought every copy they had. It was Oprah Winfrey who said this. So yeah, a lot of praise for this book, and I feel like it's one of those staple novels because you always hear about it a lot, like you hear about it everywhere. So yeah, The Color Purple is another novel which I read. It's like this must-read staple, I feel like American classics that you just have to read. And then I want to read Atlas Shrugged, which is a huge book. It's an enormous novel. I want to suggest it for the BBB. Actually, in the Discord group, somebody also suggested this book also for the BBB. So I also had this plan to suggest it in the future. So hopefully we will get to read it with the BBB. We will see. But yeah, so Atlas Shrugged. And from what I remember, it's like the ultimate defense of capitalism, which is interesting because from what I know about the author, she actually immigrated from Soviet Union with her family to America, which I guess it's actually logical if she immigrated from like communism to capitalism. So probably she would be defending capitalism, and hopefully we will get to read it with the BBB. Hopefully it will get chosen. So we will see. So these were my classics. I don't know how many, I didn't count, to be honest. These were my English and American classics I hope to get to and to read in 2021. Let me know in the comments which American classics you consider to be like must read. Just have to read, like the staple novels which everybody should read if they are getting introduced to American classics. So leave them in the comments below. Also let me know which English classics I have to like add to my TBR in your opinion. Which English classics are also like this, like must have to read. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know also which English and American classics you want to read in 2021. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a very good day. I hope you're staying safe, and I will see you very soon in my next videos. Thank you so much. Bye.